Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and today we have part 2 of 24 Days of Bookmas. This is going to be in 3 parts. So I did week 1 last week, so definitely go check that out if you haven't already. I read some great books, some okay books, but I had a really good week, and so now we are on to day 8, and I think I'm going till the 15th or something like that, but throughout this next week, and then the last video won't come out until after Christmas, so yeah, because obviously I want to wrap it up, but let's go ahead and see what we got today. I really enjoyed my first week. I ended the week on a high. Really enjoyed the last book I read. I ended up staying up late and just devouring it, essentially. So yeah, I'm excited to see what we get today. I think this might be another Christmas romance, which I am hoping, because I've only gotten 2 of those so far, but I've really enjoyed both. And again, I cannot open the last little bit of tape. There it goes. Sometimes the struggle is real. So, alright, let's see what we got here. So we're going to go ahead, and I think it's upside down. Awesome! So it is another Christmas romance. It's All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. And yeah, I've been interested in this one, so I'm excited to, of course, pull it. It says, true love wasn't on their holiday wish list. When Sadie and Max are selected as contestants on the famed reality singing show Star Maker, each thinks they finally gotten their big Nashville break. But when they're paired up for duet week and stun the world with their romantic onstage chemistry, with fans going wild for Saxy, the network demands that they remain a duo on and off stage or exit the competition. Faking a relationship will be their final performance in Star Maker Holiday Special shouldn't be too hard, except for one small problem. Sadie and Max can't stand each other. But with their dreams just within reach, they agree to the ruse. Will their fake relationship be exposed before they can win, or might their phony connection turn real by the Christmas finale? So I just read a fake dating, but it was friends to lovers, and so this one's obviously going to be enemies to lovers. And yeah, I like the musical aspect. I think I'm really going to enjoy this one. I've never read anything by this author, and so I should hopefully enjoy it. We'll see, and I'm excited to give it a try. I will be back tomorrow morning with my thoughts on this one, and we'll see what tomorrow's pick is. Alright, it is December 9th. I haven't quite finished All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. I have about 70 pages left to go, so I'll definitely be able to wrap it up today. I'm not loving this one. Maggie Knox is actually 2 authors, which I didn't realize going in. It's, let's see here, Marissa Stapley and Karma Brown. And yeah, not great, which is a shame because I think I have the other book that's by this author, or these 2 authors. From what I can see, there's only 2, this one and then the holiday swap one. So hopefully, if I don't remember for sure if I have the one. I think I do. And if I do, hopefully I enjoy it more than this one. Right now, unless something amazing happens in the last 70 pages, it's a 2-star for me. The characters aren't likable. They're kind of enemies / rivals to lovers. Like, they're a little bit more than rivals. Like, she hates him. She had a bad experience with him. And so she hates him, and they just kind of get on each other's nerves, and it's just not done well. Like, this starts off Christmas last year when they're on this competition show, and there's no depth there at all, and they have like a couple positive experiences, but every positive experience in this book ends up with them bickering about something. So you really can't get behind them. They're just toxic together. I'm like, I can't get behind them as a couple. They need to break up for real and go their separate ways. Like, there's nothing about their interactions that make you think, oh, these people should be a couple. So I really hate that, and they don't communicate at all. He tends to get really sulky every time something comes up and just runs away, and it's just getting really old. And like I said, there's no depth there. They've had a few experiences in that first Christmas, season. And then they kind of end up having a falling out there. And he's like, oh, she got away. Like, this is horrible. But it's like, you guys, like, had no experience. Like, you're not in love with her. Like, come on now. Like, no. And so, yeah, a 2-star right now. I doubt anything will change that in the last 70 pages. But I will wrap it up and see how they end up coming together or whatever. Not enjoying it. Anyway, but we have day number 9. It is tiny. I don't remember what book this is. I don't remember a book this tiny that I put in there. So this is definitely a surprise. And then it's good that it's so tiny though, because since I do still have to finish this up, and then I have to run into town today. I need to get just a few groceries. Not a full-on grocery shopping day, but a few things that we're running low on. So it's good that I have a tiny book for today. And I definitely want to make sure I don't have anything rolling over tomorrow, because my husband has work in a city that's about an hour away from us. And he's like, why don't you come with me? And we can just, do the scenic route on the way home and such. So I'm going to be going with him. So I'm going to be kind of out of the house. And I cannot read in the car. I'm not one that can read in the car. I get really car sick. But let's see what today is. Oh, okay. So this one is the Christmas Pearl by Dorothea, Benton, Frank. And I got this at a thrift store a year or so ago. And it's just like, oh, Christmas. So I picked it up. And I've been interested in trying this author. I think this one's going to be fun because it's an older protagonist, which I always love an older protagonist. So it says, still spry at 93, Theodora has lived long enough to see her family grow into an insufferable bunch of truculent knuckleheads. Having finally gathered the whole bickering brood together for the holidays at her South Carolina home, the grand matriarch pines wistfully for those extravagant homing Christmases of her childhood. How she misses the tables groaning with home-cooked goodies, the over-the-top decorations, those long, lovely fireside chats with Pearl, her grandmother's beloved housekeeper and closest confidant. These days, where is the love and the joy and the peace? But this is, after all, a magical time. Someone very special has heard Theodora's plea and is about to arrive at her door with pockets full of gula magic and enough common sense to transform this Christmas into the miracle it's truly meant to be. So, this sounds like fun, and it's going to be different from all the other books I have on my TBR. I love that this is going to be more kind of family centered, and it sounds like a little bit reminiscent. That nostalgia factor, I love that, especially in Christmas books. So, and it has new recipes included. I haven't been keeping track though, but like a lot of especially the Christmas books have recipes in them. I would love at some point, to try and do the recipes. But anyway, this is today's pick for day number 9. So I'll wrap this when I get home. I'm going to wrap this one up and then jump into this one. And we'll see how we go. I'll give you my final thoughts on this, see if it improved at all tomorrow, and then we'll see what I think about this as well. So I'll be back in just a moment to give you my thoughts. All right, we are on December 10th. I did finish All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox, and it stayed a 2-star. The ending, like, I couldn't root for these guys, honestly. If they were a real couple, I would expect them to get divorced somewhere down the line. The main male character, Max, was completely inconsistent and unreliable right up till the end. And because of that, like, his apologies or whatever were just kind of like, yeah, whatever, dude. And like some of her decisions, like neither one of these characters could communicate to save their lives. And some of the reasoning behind that really didn't make sense to me. But the male character in particular, like constantly unreliable. Every time they had even a positive interaction, it ended in like a fight or something. So they were a very toxic couple. And it's like, I don't root for them at all. So it ended on a 2-star. I was reading a little bit. There's like, a conversation with the authors, because it's actually 2 authors. And apparently, in this book, they each took a character. So one of them wrote the female character and the other one, because it goes back and forth between the point of views. So the other one wrote the male character. And I don't know if that played a part in kind of the disconnect between the characters or whatnot. But either way, like, couldn't get behind this couple. I didn't enjoy it. There's also, I've mentioned pop culture references before, but like, in Love Light Farms, there was a lot of pop culture references, but they were well placed and well used. And you expect, like, in, a genre specific area, like this one's country music, you expect there to be some pop culture references, but they, again, kind of used it as a crutch and it was overdone, and I hated that part as well. So, yeah, not a fan of this. Like I mentioned, I do think I have the other book they wrote together. But it sounds like that book they worked on together instead of each taking a character. So I'm really hoping that I enjoyed that one more than I liked this one. If I do have it, like I said, I don't remember for sure, but I do think I got it. But yeah, this one, not a fan of. So there's that. And then I also finished The Christmas Pearl by Dorothea Benton Frank. I really enjoyed this one. And y'all, this whole back section here, this whole section is recipes. Like, there are a ton of recipes. I guess this was a reprint of this book, and the original one had some recipes from throughout the book as well, and then this time she asked a bunch of, like, her friends and family for some of their favorite holiday recipes as well. So yeah, this whole chunk is just recipes. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, I thought this one it's really short. It's only 151 pages. But I really loved it. I was reading some reviews, and like one went on a rant how, it was these privileged white people, which they are privileged white people, and how the black housekeeper had to come in and save the day. And I didn't get that from this book. You have the 93-year-old matriarch, and she's kind of reminiscing on her Christmases of past and how it was full of family and love, and care, and part of that was their housekeeper, who she was super close with, which for her age, a lot of them at that time would have black housekeepers or nannies or whatever. So I think it fit in with her age. She's 93. But anyway, so her daughter and son-in-law live with her, which is kind of a family tradition. Her mom and her lived with her grandma and grandfather and such. So it's kind of a family tradition that they all live in this house. I really like the house itself, and it's kind of, there's this like haunted house element, which I really, really loved. And then there's kind of the supernatural element as well, which was really fun, and a little bit of like magical realism, which I appreciated the magical realism because the family, like the grandchildren, and her son-in-law, like, they are horrible. Her daughter's not horrible. She's just very meek. But the rest of them, other than one grandchild, are horrible. So it's her daughter and son-in-law, and then they have two children. The granddaughter, she's separated from her husband. So it's her and her son. And then it's the grandson with his wife, who is like a country bumpkin essentially, and then their daughter, who is a spoiled brat. So none of the characters are likable. The son-in-law and his son are like misogynistic. I'm a man, I'm gonna do what I want, cheat on their wives and stuff. Like, they're all just absolutely horrible. And in the end, it's supposed to be heartwarming and uplifting. And so in the end, that changes. And it's such a short book, and there's, it's kind of like a switch. But because of that magical element, magical realism element, it made it much more like you're able to suspend your disbelief that these characters just kind of changed and are going to be better people, you know? But I hated her family, loved the 93-year-old. She definitely has like old-fashioned thoughts and such. But yeah, I really like the use of Pearl throughout the book. I really enjoyed that. And so yeah, if you're looking for a cute, like short, heartwarming, family centered Christmas book, this was definitely that. So really had a good time there. And so now we are on day 10. It's a paperback, so I'm thinking this is probably another like contemporary romance, which I would not be mad about at all. So we're just gonna have to see here if I can get the tape off. As always, I always struggle with it. But let's see what we got here. We're ripping, we don't care. Okay. So we got... Okay, yes. So this is... Yes, okay. So this is Meet Me Under the Mistletoe by Jenny Bayliss. I read the 12 Dates of Christmas in the first week of 24 Days of Bookmas. So I'm excited to read another one by this author. Like I said, I think there's a couple of the contemporary romances that I have that are, you know, repeat authors. But I really enjoyed the 12 Dates of Christmas. It wasn't quite a 5-star, but I really liked the writing and everything like that. So I'm excited to give this a go. So it says, a city bookshop owner heads to the English countryside for a holiday reunion only to face her childhood enemy. Eleanor Noel, Nori for short, is quite content running her second-hand bookshop in London. Forever torn between her working-class upbringing and her classmates' extravagant lifestyles at the posh private school she attended on scholarship, Nori has finally figured out how to keep both at equal distance. So when two of her oldest friends invite their whole gang to spend the time leading up to their wedding together at the castle near their old school, Nori must prepare herself for an emotionally complicated few days. The reunion brings back fond memories, but also requires Nori to dodge an ill-advised former fling, when she falls quite literally into the arms of Isaac, the castle's head gardener, who has nothing but contempt for the snobby prep school kids. The attraction between them is undeniable, and as Nori spends more time with Isaac during the wedding festivities, she finds herself falling hard for the boy she used to consider an enemy. Nori and Isaac explore their common ground, but pressures mount on all sides, and Nori must decide what kind of life she wants to live and what sort of love is worth the risk. So, I'm so excited about this. So yeah, this is what I will be reading. It's actually kind of a chunky one. 410 pages. That's chunky for a little contemporary romance, but the other one was super quick. The writing was really easy to read. So I should be able to read this fairly quickly. I am going to be out of the house today. My husband has a job that's like an hour away that he has to go to. And he's like, it's going to be super quick. Like he just has to go there and then come back. So he's like, why don't you come with me and we'll take the scenic route. I can't read in the car. I do get car sick. So I'm going to take this with me. He said the job's going to be really quick, but I figure I'll take this with me just in case. And that way I can read this while we're out and about. Otherwise, I won't get to it till this afternoon/evening when we get home. But I am excited to read something else by this author. So yeah, I will check in with you tomorrow morning, give you any thoughts on this, even if I haven't finished it, and we'll see what day 11 holds. All right, it is December 11th, and I have about 100 pages left of Meet Me Under the Mistletoe by Jenny Bayliss. Obviously, I worked on this yesterday when I could. I only got about 30 pages read while we were out and about driving around and such. And then I read the bulk of it at bedtime. Read a little bit more, probably about 40 pages this morning. But yeah, so far, like really enjoying it. Obviously, we're kind of at the tail end of it now. It's sitting about a 4-star. I think it's probably going to stay there. I love the main couple that we're following. They have history, and it was kind of, she got a scholarship to this private school, and so it was kind of the private school kids against like the town kids essentially, and they had like this little war going where they were throwing like manure at each other and such, which turns out like her friends had something to do with that. And yeah, it's really cute. There's just little things here and there, kind of like with the 12 Days of Christmas. I loved it. I really had a great time with it. There was just something that dropped it down for me, and it's the same thing with this one. The main thing, she does use pop culture references, which again is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Some of these are well placed, some of them not so much. She's not really using it as a crutch, but there's more than there needs to be. And we've had two Donald Trump ones, back to back, which I was like, oh my goodness. So, yeah, I am enjoying it. I love her friend group, the private school kids. There's definitely some characters in there, and some of them aren't the greatest people. And you kind of see though, like you're like, how could you be friends with them? But even though you have these different personalities and you kind of have like some snobbery and such, like you see that friendship and that bond, it really shines through. There's a thing with her brother that we'll see how it wraps up, but it's almost like it was just an extra thing. Like it's just another thing that we're trying to follow along and it's kind of getting lost in the story. There's also a relationship between her friend, one of her best friends from the group, and she's never wanted to fall in love. And so she dates man Barbies, is what she calls them. And then her current fling is actually, there's a lot more to him than just his looks. I love those two, even though you're not getting like their perspective or anything. Like I'm almost rooting for their romance more so than the main characters, which I like that she has such great side characters that you're also rooting for them, even though you're not getting like their perspective or anything else. Like it's just a really really fun time. So basically the premise, I told you the synopsis yesterday, but they're coming, this group of school friends, there was 8 of them, they're coming back together for the 2 of them are getting married. They finally got together after all these years and are getting married. One of their members, it does deal with depression and unaliving of themselves, so keep that in mind if that's going to be a trigger warning for you. And so one of their original group is missing, but yeah, I really like the relationship between the 2 main characters. I like the friend group. Even though you have some not likable characters, you can still see why that friendship's there and why that bond is there. It's just little things here and there that are kind of dropping it down for me. But yeah, I should be able to finish this up today, no problem. And I'll give you my final thoughts tomorrow, of course. But we need to see what day 11 holds. It is another paperback, so we'll see what's in here. It doesn't seem like it's going to be too terribly long, so that's always helpful, of course, especially since I still have to work on yesterday's book a little bit. But we'll just have to see what's in here. But yeah, I think, like I said, Jenny Bayliss, I think that's an author, like, especially for Christmas time, like little romances and such. It's an author I think I'm really going to enjoy going forward. It's just not like an author that I fully connect with at all. So, alright, let's see what we got here. Okay, so we have another like contemporary romance. This is One Day in December by Josie Silver. And I'm excited for this one. So it says, Lori is pretty sure love at first sight doesn't exist anywhere outside the movies. But then through the mist on a bus window one snowy December day, she sees a man that she knows instantly is the one. Their eyes meet. There's a moment of pure magic. And then her bus drives away. Certain they're fated to find each other again, Lori spends a year scanning every bus stop and cafe in London, hoping for another glimpse of what she trusts is true love. But she doesn't find him, not when it matters anyway. Instead, they reunite at a Christmas party where her best friend Sarah giddily introduces her new boyfriend Jack, the man from the bus, to Lori. What follows for Lori, Sarah, and Jack is 10 years of friendship, heartbreak, roads not taken, and destinies reconsidered. One Day in December is a joyous, heartwarming, and immensely moving love story, and a reminder that fate takes inexplicable turns along the route to happiness. So, seems like it's going to be a little bit more serious compared to like the lighthearted ones that I've had so far, but I'm excited for this one. This is one that was definitely on my radar, and it has little recipes in the back. How fun! So I was just gonna see how long it is. It's a little bit of a thicker one. So $3.92. So not quite 400. This one's over 400. This one's just under it. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to be reading today. I'll be finishing up this one and starting this one. I don't know if I'll finish this one today. It will just kind of depend on how my mood is or whatnot. But I'm not too terribly worried if I don't finish it up today. I'm pretty confident I can catch up some of the one, I think, what's today, Wednesday, so Fridays is super short. So if I am a bit behind, I can definitely catch up on Friday. I have one more load of laundry that's in the dryer right now that I need to put away. It's afternoon at this point, and I have some bread in the oven that I need to finish getting it baked and then take it out and take care of it. But then other than that, I am done with chores. I've done all my chores for the morning, and I'm ready to sit down and snuggle with my pups and my cats and enjoy some more Christmas romance. So I will be back in just a moment for you guys to talk about my thoughts on these. Alright, it is December 12th now. I did finish up Meet Me Under the Mistletoe by Jenny Bayliss yesterday, and it stayed at a 4-star for me. I kind of like that you got a little bit of the friend group's love stories as well. So you got a bunch of different like little happily ever after situations. I really like that. I loved her best friend Amira and Dev, those characters. I would have loved like a love story around them, and I did enjoy the main characters here. There's a little bit, so I mentioned there's some pop culture references that was just a bit overdone. There was also it was very feminist, which I like feminist books, like, but it was just so overdone that I was getting annoyed by the feminist take by the end of it as well. But overall, I did really, really enjoy this one. 4 stars for me. And then I read about 155 pages of One Day in December by Josie Silver. So not quite halfway yet. But I read that last night. Again, pop culture references, and it's frustrating because there's one in here that would have really hit, but because there had already been so many pop culture references by the time we got to that one, because basically it's her birthday and they go to like this Greece themed like interactive like thing. Like, so they're, dressed up as the pink ladies, and they're at this thing, and it's like there's a carnival and like this dance competition and all these different things that are Greece themed, and then there's going to be a showing of the movie at the end. And so yeah, that would have been really cool, and that would have been a well-placed pop culture references, but it just didn't hit quite as hard because there's already been so many. Also, because the premise is she sees this guy and it's like love at first sight, that's my soulmate, and then for a whole year she can't find him, and she's trying to find this guy because they just meet as she's on a bus and the bus is driving away, which is kind of a cool premise. But when she ends up finding him, he's dating her best friend, like best friend and roommate. And so it's going to span 10 years. I'm about 4 years in now at this point, I think. And I don't know, the pop culture references are getting under my skin. Other than that, I do like the writing, but it's just, I don't so much mind the premise, and I don't so much mind infidelity in books per se. Like, I know some people, they can't read books like that, but like, the male character in this, like, you get his point of view sometimes, and it's just pissing me off. And at the point I'm at, our main female character, Lori, she's met somebody else at this point. And so she brings them to meet her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend. And he's just acting like a jerk, basically, to this other guy. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So you can't be dating her best friend and then get upset that she finds somebody else. And neither one have mentioned that they well, she does. She ends up mentioning that she remembers that day, but they're not on the same page there. So she thinks that he doesn't remember that day. And so, yeah, there is something that happened that it's like, that was a choice, but I can understand it. So if I can understand, like, the motives, and, like, this happens in real life, affairs and being attracted to other people. Like, you can't always control that, but you can control your choices. And so there was a choice that was made that I didn't love on the Lori's part. But just the way Jack is acting, I don't particularly like that. So we'll see how it wraps up. Depending on how it's done, I'm either gonna enjoy it or I'm gonna totally ruin this book for me. Because like I said, the premise is there, but at this point, it's like, if they're supposed to be endgame, like, I can't root for them. Like, the way they're handling this whole situation is not fair to Sarah. And I like Sarah, so we'll see how it plays out, but I'm not really sure. Right now, it's probably about a 3-star read, just because of, like, the pop culture references and kind of some of the choices, the way my enjoyment of the characters is probably sitting about a 3-star right now, but it could go lower. It just depends on how the situation plays out. So hopefully I can finish this today. I have some laundry going again, but past that, I don't really have any chores or anything like that. But let's go ahead and see what day number 12 is. It's another paperback, so it might be another contemporary romance. But we're about to find out. I'm kind of hoping it's something different, because I've read this round, I've read 2 contemporary romances already, and plus this one as well. So I'm kind of hoping it's not, but I have a feeling it is, which is fine. I was just hoping they would be a little bit more staggered, especially because, like, I did not enjoy, the first one of this week. And then there were some things I didn't love about the other one, even though I enjoyed it. And this next one hasn't really been hitting so far. So we'll just have to see. Let's see. This is the spine. Okay. So it is another contemporary romance, which I thought it was. And so this is Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I've heard mixed things about this one and Tessa Bailey in particular. And this book I've heard mixed things about as well. So I'm kind of nervous. I think it might be kind of similar to All I Want for Christmas. I mean, it still has that musical element. And so hopefully these ones are more likable than those characters in that writing for me. But we shall see. So it says, Melody Gallard may be the daughter of music royalty, but her world is far from glamorous. She spends her day restoring old books and avoiding the limelight. One awkward tabloid photo was enough, thanks. But when a producer offers her a lot of money to reunite her mother's band on live TV, Mel begins to wonder if it's time to rattle the cage, shake up her quiet life, and see him again. The only other person who could wrangle the rock and roll divas. Beat Dawkins, the lead singer's son, is Melody's opposite. The camera loves him. He could charm the pants off anyone, and his mom is not a potential cult leader. Still, they might have been best friends if not for the legendary feud that broke up the band. When they met as teenager, Melody felt an instant spark, but it's nothing compared to the wild, intense attraction that builds as they embark on a madcap mission to convince their mothers to perform one last show. While dealing with rock star shenanigans, a 24-hour film crew, brawling Santas, and mobs of adoring fans, Mel starts to step out of her comfort zone with Beat by her side, cheering her on. She's never felt so understood, but Christmas Eve is fast approaching and a decades-old scandal is poised to wreck everything. The Stillbirds reunion, their relationships with their mothers, and their newfound love. So, see how long this one is too, because these ones have been a little bit longer. So 351, that's not too bad actually, because these other two have been around the 400 mark. So I'll be tucking into this for the rest of the day and then starting this one this evening, and we'll just see how it goes. But that's my reading for today. Tomorrow I know exactly what book it is. It's gonna be super quick, super easy, and it's different from these, so it will be a nice break. So I will definitely be able to catch up tomorrow if I don't get good progress made today on these. But I will be back with my thoughts in just a moment for you guys. Happy Friday the 13th. This is one of my favorite days. 13 is a lucky number for me. And I do really like Friday the 13th. They make me so happy when they come around. And so I did finish One Day in December by Josie Silver last night. And originally I didn't love this one starting it. There's a lot of pop culture references, which again aren't my favorite. And then also the main male character was pretty dislikable at one point, and I'm like, he doesn't deserve either, lady. Like, so just kind of a recap. The premise is she meets the eyes of this guy while she's on a bus and he's outside of it, and like instant attraction, like instant love, soulmates, and the bus drives off, and she ends up searching for this guy for a year, and then when she finally finds him, it's as she meets him as her best friend and roommate is introducing this guy as her boyfriend. And so there is a love triangle because he's dating her roommate and best friend, and that's kind of where the dislike happened, but I can see it playing out that way. Like, I don't think it was just necessarily done for drama's effect. I do think the main male, like, the author could have definitely made him a little bit more likable. There was definitely some choices made. And on those choices, like, the main female, Lori, like, you could see that and you could still root for her, even though she made, like, some questionable choices. But with him, he was just being an ass. It's like, you don't deserve any woman, sir. And so I didn't really like him. And then as you get farther in the story, it spans 10 years. Well, technically 9, but because it never actually, like, it ends in, it starts in 2008 and then ends 2017, December 2017. So it doesn't quite hit that 10-year mark, but, their lives start, taking different paths and such, and they're growing up a little bit because they're in their early teens at the start of it. And so, yeah, there's a certain level of immaturity there. So I ended up settling on a 4-star with this one. I did end up really loving the ending. The ending was probably more of a 5-star for me. And kind of Sarah, who's the best friend / girlfriend, I really liked her role in the end. And the communication there and everything like that. I really enjoyed the ending. And I definitely got emotional quite a bit during this. But with the pop culture references and just how dislikable he was as a character in the beginning, that kind of dropped it down. Like I said, I think the same story could have been told and still could have been really impactful without making him kind of a bad guy in the beginning. So yeah, 4 stars for this. I ended up really loving the end. I am interested in rereading this potentially next year and seeing, now that I know how it kind of plays out, if I can kind of get behind him anymore in the beginning. But 4 stars for that one. And I have started Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I read about 50 pages last night, and then I read a good chunk this morning, so I'm almost halfway through, right around that point, the halfway mark. And I was nervous going into this one because I've heard mixed reviews. I kind of looked at some of the reviews before starting it, and they were not positive at all. I've heard mixed reviews about this author. I love this. Like, right now it's sitting at a 5-star for me. I'm really enjoying it. The only thing is with the main male, he's a little bit too protective. Like, he's very protective of our main female character, but it's a little bit overboard. But the main female character, I adore her. Like, I absolutely love, she's funny. And I mentioned in my last video, I had a struggle with humor in books. Like, I don't always find humor funny. It a lot of time misses the mark with me. She is funny. I'm laughing at the things she's saying. Like, she's so just adorable, and I love the main female character, and I like him. Like I said, I don't love him as much as her, because he is so overprotective, and then also, but I do kind of like that aspect. Don't get me wrong; it's just a little bit overboard, and then there's something weird with him. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this. It is a little bit over the top, a little bit silly. I mean, their names are Beat and Melody. But it really works for the story. That people were complaining about that. I'm like, you're kind of like you're not getting that. That's kind of the point, you know. So yeah, I can't wait to read more of this today and finish this up today, which I should be able to do no problem. And then, luckily, today's book is super, super tiny. I know exactly what it is. It's a children's book. My husband and I might go down. We wanted to go down to the bigger city and look at Christmas light, like Christmas decorations that people will put up, like just drive around. And we were going to do it next week, but I think we might do it today because the internet's down in the office, so he's working from home today. It's kind of more low key. And so I think it might be better because then I don't have to drive in the dark too, which I really hate driving in the dark. But in order to see the lights, of course, you gotta go when it's dark. So I think we're probably gonna go have like a late lunch, early dinner, and then, when it gets dark, just drive around. So it's good. This one's reading really fast. So even if I don't get a lot more read today, I should be able to finish it at bedtime. And then, of course, this is going to be super easy. So let me go ahead and open it up and show you guys what it is. This tape is taping. I'm excited about this one. So I have some of this author's other books on my shelves. I've got like the first one I got when I was a teenager as a Christmas present. I've never actually read them. I think I would really enjoy them if I did. But the book is The Christmas Day Kitten, by James Harriot, and the illustrations are by Ruth Brown. So you can see it's a little children's book with pictures and everything. And it's going to be super quick and easy. And it says, Christmas can never go by without my remembering a certain little cat. So begins The Christmas Day Kitten, another true story from James Harriot's rich experience as a country vet. As always, the tale includes a vivid group of characters on 2 legs and 4. Mrs. Pickering and her 3 stately basset hounds, James himself, and Debbie, the self-possessed stray cat who makes a special contribution to Christmas at the Pickering house. This is one of James Harriot's own favorite stories, and it's sure to be one of yours. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. So this is what I'll be working on today. And I'll be back in the morning to let you know my thoughts, which should hopefully be some positive ones. Because I said, loving this so far, and I know I'm going to love this as well. So I'll be back in just a moment. All right, it is December 14th. I got the overhead light on because it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been up since 4 and I just can't go back to sleep. So I decided I wanted to go ahead and open day 14's book so I can get started. It is really little, which makes me happy because I definitely want to work on the puzzle today and probably play World of Warcraft with my husband for a little while. So I doubt I'm going to spend a lot of time reading today. Last night we did go to the bigger city. We had kind of a little date night, so we went. There's this like Asian buffet that we both really love, so we went there and we got some ice cream, and then we just drove around and looked at Christmas lights, which was a lot of fun. There were so many cool ones. Like, I just really, really had a great time just doing that, driving around. It was kind of a low-key night, and it really worked out that he was able to be working from home. Because I was trying to figure out, how to get down there, because I can't spend all day down there when he's working because of the dogs, and then I hate driving at night. I have a really hard time. Like, I get very distracted by the lights. So it really worked out that he was working from home, and we were able to go down together and just have a fun little date night. So I did finish Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I read a good chunk of it before we went and then just finished it up when we got home. And I love this. Like, I had such a good time. It's a little over the top. It's a little ridiculous, but that's kind of the point. And I didn't particularly like Beat so much. Like that character in and of itself, like he had some weird issues and such that I didn't love, and I really didn't gravitate towards him. And he was a bit too overprotective in a sense, and so I didn't probably love him, but him and Melody together I really enjoyed, and Melody as a character was just awesome. I absolutely loved her. The moms were ridiculous and over the top and fun. The whole premise, yeah, was it kind of ridiculous and over the top? But people go crazy for like reality TV stuff and whatnot, which I never really understood. So I could see that kind of like it was kind of poking fun at that, I think, in a way. And so yeah, I don't know why this book, has lower reviews, and why this author does. Like obviously I haven't read anything else by her yet, but I had a great time with this. I absolutely loved it. Ended up being 5 stars for me. It was exactly what I wanted and needed from a contemporary Christmas romance. So I did finish that up. And then I also read The Christmas Day Kitten by James Harriot, which I haven't done my review on yet because I ended up, after finishing this, just going straight into bed. So I need to remember to do that. But it's probably about a 4 star. I like the illustrations. They're not like, I think they're pretty, but they're just not quite my like style. And yeah, it's just a simple little book about this woman, and she has basset hounds, and there's this stray cat that hangs around, and it's kind of sad because something happens to the stray cat, but there's this kitten, and it's told from James Harriot, and he's country veterinarian and going out and taking care of the basset hounds, and then she calls him for this cat. And then a year later, he sees this kitten on Christmas, like it's a Christmas Day kitten. And so, yeah, sad in the beginning, but then kind of heartwarming because this basset hound owner who's never owned a cat in her life ends up with this cat. And so yeah, probably about 4 stars. Like it wasn't anything amazing or anything like that, but if you're an animal lover, it's a cute little story about how this cat came into this woman's life. So good for like a kid who's an animal lover for sure. So there is that one. And now let's go ahead and see what day 14 is. It's small, so that's good. I'm kind of hoping it's the other Matt Haig book, honestly. Um, but we'll see here in a second if I can get all the tape off. Ugh, now the tape's attacking. Let's see here what we have. It's this way, I think. Okay. So this is gonna be a reread for me. And so this is the cat who came back for Christmas. I apparently am having a kitty cat Christmas because I had the cat who came for Christmas by Cleveland Ivory, or Armory. Sorry, I'm not awake yet. Cleveland Amory. What is going on? The cat came for Christmas by Cleveland Amory. This one, the Christmas Day Kitten. And now we're gonna be rereading this one, The Cat Who Came Back for Christmas, by Julia Romp. And so I did read this. I think it was last year, and so you have Julia's 9-year-old son, George, was autistic, quiet, and withdrawn. He appeared lost in his own world. Then one day, a small black and white stray cat appeared in her garden, and George's face lit up. George bonded with Ben and began to open up to his mother as well. For 3 happy years, the trio was inseparable, and George made remarkable progress. But then disaster struck. Ben went missing, and George regressed. The weeks turned into months, and Christmas was fast approaching. On December 21st, Julia got a call from a family more than 50 miles away, which finally offered a ray of hope. Generally touching, The Cat Who Came Back for Christmas is a story about devotion, love, and a holiday miracle. And I don't specifically actually remember this one, even though I think, like I said, I think it was last year I read this. But I think I did enjoy it because it has that autism rep. And then, the animal. And I have always been a huge animal lover. The animals have definitely helped me throughout my life. And honestly, like working wise, my jobs have always been animal related, minus like 1 or 2 times, which were horrible for me. And even now, like, I'm kind of in this flux. Like, I wouldn't mind, going back to work, but I'm don't want to work with animals anymore because I have some trauma and such from working with animals. But I really don't have the social ability or such to work in other industries, So I'm kind of in this weird place where I really don't know what I would do. But yeah, animals have always been like this way where I connect to other people, to other animal people. And it's really helped me throughout my life. So I'm excited to reread this one. And it's not very long, so that's a plus. It's just under 300 pages. So that's what I'll be working on today. Like I said, I'm planning on probably doing other things, so I'll start this morning. And once it's a little bit later in the morning and my husband's up and ready to start the day, we'll probably work on the Christmas puzzle a little bit and then probably play some World of Warcraft, some WoW, and just have a chill day. And then I'll probably finish this up tonight. There will be one more. I know last time I did 7. This time I'm going to be doing 8 books. And so I'll be opening one more book tomorrow and then probably updating you guys on my thoughts on whatever that book is on Monday morning before I edit and upload this video. So there will be one more book and then the last stretch will be 90. So I'm doing 7, 8, and then 9 books. But anyway, I'm going to leave you here for the moment and I'll be back to give you my thoughts in the morning. All right, it is December 15th. I did finish The Cat Who Came Back for Christmas by Julia Romp. I read about half last night and then I kind of had to lay in bed this morning and finished it up this morning. I really enjoyed this one. This was a reread for me. I don't remember, like, I didn't rate it like on Goodreads or anything last time, so I don't remember what my rating was last time, but I ended up going with 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. The only thing is the author would like start a thought and then go off kind of on a tangent and then like circle back to the thought, and the tangents were related to like the original thought she started, but I really dislike that because then I forget what they were originally talking about in the first place, and then by the time she circled around I have to kind of readjust myself. It did also get repetitive a little bit, like she would repeat certain things, so that part as well, and just a little long-winded, is the only reason it wasn't 5 stars. I really like this. There's often a disconnect between the autism community and the parents of autistic children. And I think this kind of brings both of those together because she's real about the struggles of raising not only a child, like some of the struggles are just general, parenthood struggles, but specifically raising a child with autism and kind of her own expectations versus being accepting of who her child was or is, because a lot of times, she wanted hugs and cuddles and she see other parents getting hugs and cuddles and he hates being touched, her son. And so, you see those struggles and kind of that longing and then kind of that acceptance, and it's kind of a journey for her. And he doesn't sleep and everybody's just telling her, oh, it'll be fine, like just give it time, and she's like, no, like you don't understand, he's not sleeping, he's being touched, like this is not normal. And it wasn't until he went to school that she finally got on, other people were seeing more of him and finally got, on the road to getting that diagnosis and such. So you see the struggles, and when you have it split, so it's before Ben, which is the cat, before Ben, during Ben, and then they lose Ben, and so that part when he was lost and gone, because that's how it's split up. And you just really see George, who is Julia's son, really kind of blossom with Ben, and he's able to, slowly start to open up and be more affectionate with his mom through Ben. Like, he still doesn't like touched and such, but he's able to communicate a little bit more. They use cat talk. and it just really opens up, that communication, and he's starting to accept another living being. It's a cat, but he's never accepted another animal really either. And so you just see like that bond and the way he blossoms. And then he kind of down spirals and then gets lost, because he doesn't have that connection. And animals have always been a really big part in my own life, as far as like connecting to other people as well, and so yeah, I love this. And I did mark one thing, because even though it's from her perspective, it really felt the same for me. And this is something I marked when I read it the first time, and it still just really hit. And so it said, while diagnosis didn't suddenly make things right, they felt a bit easier because at least I knew what I was dealing with now. And that meant I could learn to help George cope with the world a bit better. And when I got my diagnosis, it was a big relief, because I always thought there was just something wrong with me. Like, why can't I do these things that other people can do and don't seem to have a problem with? Like, what is it what reason why I can't do that? And so when I got my diagnosis, it was a relief. And then I gave myself a lot more grace, because it's like, okay, like I'm struggling with this because this is how my brain works. And so I was able to give myself a lot more grace once I had my diagnosis. And so I really like that line in this. So yeah, 4 stars, just because some of the writing stuff. But the story itself is really, really good. And like I said, I really like, that she shows the struggles of being a parent of an autistic child, but she also shows that acceptance of him. And I really like, she never, like, once he does get the diagnosis and he's going to like these special schools, there's times where like just certain things don't feel right. Like they try to put him on medication and he was just like a zombie, and she really is like, this isn't right. Like, yeah, it's a struggle, but do I like my kid being a zombie? And so she kind of went against the advice of professionals, and like some of the schools she was looking at where they would restrain the children and such had like a whole restraint chair. She's like, that would traumatize him. Like, no. And she finally found a school that was the right fit. And even with Ben getting lost, some people are like, just like first, oh, he'll be back, just don't worry about it. And then later on, like, okay, it's time for you to move on. Like, it's 3 months, it's time for you to move on. And she just never wavers. Like, yeah, she has some doubts and such, but she never wavers, and she always goes with her gut instinct, which is really hard to do when you have other voices in your ears. So really, really good book. And so now we have day 15. It is a paperback. It's thin, which makes me happy, because I'm planning on not probably starting this till this evening. I want to play some World of Warcraft with my husband. I want to get this video, start working on editing it as well, because tomorrow, when this will go up, I have a dentist appointment. So I'll be out of the house for the morning while I go do my dentist appointment. And so I like to have the majority of this ready to go, and then I can just insert the last clip of my thoughts on this book from tomorrow morning. So we'll just have to see how things go. But I think, let's see here. Okay, so it's okay. This was not the one I was hoping for. I'm really excited about this. It's just, I don't know that I want to kind of rush through this one so much. So this is Silent Night, a moving story of horror taking a holiday. The story of the World War I Christmas Truce by Stanley Weintraub. And so it says, in the early months of World War I, on Christmas Eve, men on both sides laid down their arms and joined in a spontaneous celebration. Despite orders to continue shooting, the unofficial truce spread across the front lines. Even the participants found what they were doing incredible. Germans placed candlelit Christmas trees on trench parapets. Warring soldiers sang carols. Men on opposing sides shared food parcels from home. They climbed from the trenches to meet in no man's land, where they buried the dead, exchanged gifts, and drank together, and even played soccer. Throughout his narrative, Stanley Weintraub uses the recollections of the men who were there, as well as their letters and diaries, to illuminate the fragile truth and bring to life this extraordinary moment. So, when I saw this one, I was actually really excited. There's pictures that awesome about it. And so I picked it up. There's a song by Garth Brooks. I forget the name of it now, but I'll I'll put it right here. And I've always really loved that song, and it's about, a Christmas truce during the war. So, yeah, I'm excited for this one. I hope it reads quicker than I'm expecting it to, because like I said, I really would like to wrap this up um, for this video. But if it kind of carries over into tomorrow, I might not be able to. But I'm excited about this. So I will be back tomorrow morning to let you know at least my initial thoughts on this, but hopefully my full thoughts on this. And that way I can wrap up this video. But either way, you'll be seeing this after I give you my thoughts on this, whether it's the full thoughts or not. Yeah, I'm excited to jump into this, so I will be right back in a moment. Alright, it is day 16. Unfortunately, I did not finish Silent Night, but I can give you just a little update to wrap up this video. So I have just 100 pages left to go. I read 45 pages last night and then about 30 pages this morning. So just about 100 pages left to go. And yeah, this is a struggle. I consider DNFing it, honestly. It is very dry. It's like reading a textbook. And it's also very repetitive. Like, I don't know how many times, because it's following different, like, regiments and such. And so it's like, the Germans put up their trees, and then they shouted at each other and sang to each other and cheered each other, and then they met in the middle of no man's land to exchange gifts over and over and over again. I wish this had been told more in like story format, because I think it wouldn't be so dry and it wouldn't be so repetitive if you're just kind of following one person through these different timelines. But it does include like actual letters and such that people wrote and some drawings and whatnot. Like there's a section of pictures that I haven't got to yet. But there's also, let's see if I can find one. I think there was one not too far. Yeah. So there's also pictures inside as well. But it's just so dry and so repetitive. Right now, definitely a 2-star. I doubt that will change. Based on, kind of the format and context of the book. I don't see that changing at all. But there have been like little things, here and there, like Hitler was in the war and he refused to participate. Like they tried to send him as a messenger and he refused to participate in the truce. And so that was kind of like a little interesting thing. And then someone like the German, like they're the ones that were really like Christmas gung-ho, putting up their trees and such. So there have been like little tidbits here and there that have caught my interest. But for the most part, it is just a struggle bus. So anyway, that is it for the second week of Bookmas. My books are getting caught here. See if I can hold them up with the Christmas kitten because it's kind of not cooperating. So here are the 8 books that I read for the second week. Like I said, I am still working on Silent Night. But I would love to know if you've read any of these books, if you're interested in reading any of these books. Maybe a book that you've really enjoyed recently. If you don't know what to comment and you just want to let me know you were here and supporting the video and help support the channel, you can always leave a rabbit or any type of animal emoji. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.